So I thought it might be fun to take a break from the design work we're doing with the FJ Cruiser and go back to some design work that we're doing for a client. And this is a camper furniture build for the back of his Tacoma long bed, which has a Super Pacific X1 camper shell on it. Um, and the, so we're going back and we're revisiting this. Um, um, the design scope includes a fridge tray for his Dometic 75-liter fridge. It is a very large fridge. An outdoor kitchen pull-out counter with provision for a collapsible sink. He does have, and you can see it here in the drawing, he does have a Dometic water tank, which is going to sit right here. And that's going to be the water source for essentially everything. I think he has hot and cold water provision too, propane powered. And some storage for a Goal Zero power station, which is going to be underneath this bench. And it's going to have a lid, a hinge lid with a nice stainless steel piano hinge. And that green box is representative of the Goal Zero power station that's going to be stored under there. By the way, this panel is removable, so if he needs to get at it, it's easy to kind of take all of this apart, and the top panel as well. So it's easy to get at that. It will have a storage drawer on lock-in, 22-inch lock-in, lock-out slides with these levers that are going to poke through slots that are in the drawer front. And in that, he's going to store stuff related to cooking and other things. There is a sliding table, which we're going to talk a little bit more about in a minute. This was a late addition to the design, but once he saw the bench and the cushion on there, he was like, well, it'd be great if I had a table where I could work or eat. So rather than put a lagoon table and having to deal with storing it and all that stuff, I said, okay, well, I have this idea about how to do a sliding table. My initial idea about how to do this, I think I've changed. I'm going to go into that in a minute. But anyway, so that's that. Let's go to the next scene. And we're going to zoom out a little bit. The first thing I'm going to show is the outdoor kitchen with this collapsible sink right here. That will extend across the open tailgate so that he can use this for cooking. He can actually use the tailgate for food prep and stuff. So this will make a nice sort of L-shaped cooking area with the tailgate involved. Close that up. Next is the fridge tray. That's going to be on 40-inch lock-in, lock-out slides, very heavy duty. Both the outdoor kitchen's on 40-inch. This is going to be on 34s. The top of this is the 3/4-inch bamboo, and that's going to be removable. So we're putting little rubber feet to kind of hold it in place, but it's easily removable. And the setup of this is going to be such that he can open the fridge from the side door of the camper shell. So if he's standing outside, he can open the one of the doors of the fridge. There's two top doors to it, and so he'll have access to that. Okay, so let's go back to previous scene. Okay, now we're going to talk a little bit about what we're doing with this table, because so when I started, I have another design for this is the design for the FJ, and as part of that initial design work for that, the camper furniture for that, I had these things sliding. Initially I had a table kind of like this that would slide across the back and provide a table for the back seat, the remaining back seat. Was not able to incorporate that because I need a sliding extension for the cot so that I have enough room to sleep. And the way I was thinking about doing this was to utilize these so-called high head bolts and to basically engage the high head inside the T-slot. With one kind of being set into the fixed part of the frame and one being set into the sliding part of, or whatever is sliding, in this case, the frame of the table. But I think there's a better way to do it. And the better way to do it, I think, is to actually use components from my framing vendor that are specifically designed for sliding things in a linear fashion. Drawers, doors, anything like that, anything that slides. I have a different solution that I'm using for the FJ, but for this, I'm thinking about something else. So let's go to the next scene. Let's see if I can remember which one it is. I think it's this one. Okay. So the fridge is now we've turned off the fridge tab, so the fridge has gone away. Don't worry, it's still there. It's just invisible. And you can see the underside framing, the aluminum extrusion framing for the sliding table, and the underside of the plywood. And basically, this is just going to go back and butt up against this part of the frame, and we'll put some little bumpers there, so it won't make a clanging metallic sound. It'll be nice and smooth. And then I am still using high head bolts, but I'm going to use the high head bolts to actually stop the sliding. So as it slides out, the high head bolt is actually going to bump up against this crossbar, and that will keep the table from sliding all the way out. And again, I'll put those little bumpers there, so it won't be metal to metal. And you can see the underside of the drawer there. You can also start to see this new element, and this is a glide. It's a plastic component that fits into the T-slot, and it'll be fit in such a way that it's not going to slide. So it's going to be that part's fixed, but this part of the frame, and you can just kind of see how it, if I zoom in a little bit, you can see how it kind of engages with the T-slot of the part that slides. And it's low friction, but there is some friction, which I think is good. We want a little bit of friction. We don't want this thing to just kind of be able to like slide effortlessly. We want it to have a little bit of friction, which is fine. And let me see if I can zoom back out. So anyway, so that's kind of how that part's going to work. And then let's go to the next scene. So now I've made the sliding table invisible. Turned off that tab. You can see here's the water tank, and you can see that, and this same thing is over here. You can see just part of it there, and just a little part of that high head sneaking out. So the other thing that the vendor has is a T-slot bar. They call it a T-slot bar, and basically this is really meant to connect different framing pieces together. When they're end to end. But in this case, it has tapped 8mm holes that are designed to take a set screw. So it's a way to put something to screw a bolt into and make sure that bolt doesn't move because of the set screw. But it's also going to hold the glide in place, make sure the glide doesn't move. So let's zoom in on that. So this kind of gives you a better idea of what it is that I'm talking about. And by the way, I am not drawing every bolt or every component that's in the design. These are all models and step files that I am importing into my model, into SketchUp, just to make life a lot easier and make it more realistic. And so, and make sure that what I'm working with is dimensionally correct, so that there's really no guesswork about, okay, how big is this thing. Plus it saves me the trouble of having to draw it. Wouldn't want to draw all these screws. That's nuts. So anyway, there's the set screw that goes into that holds this bar in place. And then what I'm going to have my vendor do is machine a tapped hole for this 8mm screw. And then that will just screw into that. And then I'll use some thread locker to make sure it stays in place so it doesn't kind of unscrew itself or screw further in on its own, which I don't think it will. But a little thread locker will hold that in place. And the reason why I have this in addition to the glide is because the glide is plastic and the table is cantilevered, as you saw previously when I showed it extended. And what I'm afraid of is if there's some downward force on that table, God forbid he sits on it. Hopefully he won't sit on it. I don't think it's going to just hold his weight. But I want to make sure that if there's any downward force on this thing, that it doesn't pivot around this horizontal bar here and break the end of this plastic glide. So that's what this high head is doing, because it's fitting into the T-slot and it's basically resisting any kind of pivot on the part of that table. And that's all it's doing. It's just reinforcing. I don't need it for the sliding part. I just need it to make sure that once it's extended, it doesn't break this glide. And that's really all it's doing. I'm still incorporating the high head bolt, but I'm doing it for a different reason. I'm not doing it to make the glide work or the slide work. I'm using it to make sure that the sliding motion, or once it's fully extended, it doesn't break things. If someone decides they're going to put a lot of weight on that or force a downward force on it. So it's just, I'd hate to have this thing out there and then have it get broken because this is plastic. I think it's strong plastic. I mean, it's pretty burly stuff, but it's plastic and it might break. And I want to make sure that it doesn't. Under normal situations, just sliding back and forth, it's not going to break. It's going to be fine. But yeah. So anyway, let's go back to, okay, hold on. Here we go. We're going all the way back. All right. So now we're back to where we started. So here's that table extended. You can see that it has a pretty significant cantilever. So yeah, but I think it's going to be really cool. And I'm hopeful that the height of it will work with him sitting. And I can't get it any lower than where it is right now because of the fridge. And because the fridge extends into this compartment here, which is kind of being shared with the sliding table. It's absolutely as low as it can go. So the only thing I can do is I can make the bench go a little higher, or use a little thicker cushion, which we might end up doing. I think how we're going to build this is, I think what we're going to do is we're going to build out the frame, build out the bench, or maybe mock it up. I don't know. I'm going to put this in first, and then I'm going to have him, and then mock that bench up and have him sit on that at the height where the cushions are. And then let me know if it's comfortable. And then if it's not, we'll modify it a little bit. We might bring the bench, I don't think it's going to go any lower, but we might go up a little higher. And then maybe go with thicker cushions. I don't know. But the cushions will probably do last. And then this bench part will probably be one of the last things we do too. So we'll test fit it, pull it out. When we do the test fit, we'll do all the necessary riv nuts and things for connecting the brackets so that so this thing will be fixed into the bed of the truck. And as you know, Tacomas have a composite bed, and we'll use special riv nuts that are specific for composite situations. Yeah, so I think that's how we're going to do it. We'll do some test fitting, and then finish it up and then do the cushions. We want to make sure that we only build it once correctly. Terrible to build something like this and have it be all done and then go, oh, that's, zoom my light here, that's not gonna fit. So we also want to do check some dimensions and things like that, just make sure everything's fine. And I also want to make sure that I have the right dimensions for the cushions, so that's going to work too. So anyway, it's fine. You know, this whole thing is taking a little bit longer than I thought it was going to take, but I'm glad we had a little extra time, because I really feel much better about the solution for the sliding table now. It was really the one thing in this whole design that I was the most worried about. Not worried about the fridge slides, not worried about the fridge tray, none of that. I was worried about this. Anyway, hope that's interesting. And as always, if you have any comments or questions, please leave them below. I'll do my best to answer. Thanks so much.